Are you thinking of moving to Dubai sooner rather than later? Then do keep watching. I want to talk about the 10 things you will want to know before relocating to Dubai. Dubai is attracting more and more expats every year as there are plenty of opportunities, and chances are pretty high that it may hold exciting opportunities for you as well. That said, there are also a lot of things to consider before taking the plunge. So let's get straight into the details. So my first advice for you guys would be to get to know your budget and make a financial plan accordingly. There's lots to do in Dubai, but only few things we love come for free. To figure out what you can afford, do some online research. Then be sure to budget things like housing, schooling, transportation, insurances, traveling, food, and put aside some money for emergencies and extras as well. And obviously, don't forget to allocate some money for your social activities. And once you're here, it's in your best interest to stick to that plan for at least a couple of months until you had a chance to see how things go. So here's what you can expect when living in Dubai as an expat coming from a Western country like the US or Europe. To be able to have a similar lifestyle to what you had back home, you would need approximately at least $4,000 per month. If you're coming to Dubai with your family, then $7,500 is a pretty fair budget that should cover basic needs and rent. But please bear in mind, those numbers are just average estimates, as those numbers obviously highly depend on your personal lifestyle and preferences. If you want me to make a separate video about the cost of living in Dubai, please leave a comment below. So now let's talk about the legal framework that allows people to live and work in Dubai. All foreigners who want to live and work in the UAE must have a valid UAE residence visa as well as an Emirates ID. Without a valid visa or Emirates ID, you cannot work, open a current bank account, apply for a residence SIM card, register a tenancy, convert your driver license, register a car, pay utilities, start a business, or use governmental services. There are different types of visas, but most of the people come either with the investment visa or with a work visa. The UAE investment visa is issued to people who make large investments into the country, like opening a new business or buying a property. You can apply for it without a sponsor, as your business or your property serves as your sponsor. If you're not an investor but you have found employment in the UAE and you obtained the UAE work visa, then your employer will also be your sponsor. Once you have a job offer, your employer will do most of the arrangements for your residence visa. You just need to make sure that you have all your original documents with you, that those are up to date and attested if needed. When applying for a visa, a medical exam is required, here at a governmental center in Dubai. The X-rays and the blood tests are used to screen for diseases like hepatitis, HIV, and TB. Please be aware, if you have any of those major transmittable diseases, the visa will be rejected and you will need to leave the country. So some of my clients made this medical exam additionally back home, even before heading to Dubai, just to confirm that there were no surprises waiting for them once they got here. So this leads me to health insurance, which is mandatory for all Dubai residents. If you're moving to Dubai on a work visa, your employer needs to provide you with some form of private health insurance. When it comes to healthcare, Dubai's standards is way above average. There is a huge range and options of private clinics and hospitals to choose from, and even the public hospitals offer a very good service. That said, despite the comprehensive employer's insurance, many expats opt for private medical insurance instead to get enhanced benefits and access to the very best care and treatments. So it's something you should consider when planning your budget. So let's talk about banking now. Opening a bank account is super easy and straightforward. If you just moved to Dubai, it might take a bit until you get your Emirates ID, but that shouldn't stop you from opening your bank account right away, as most banks would accept a copy of your Emirates ID registration form instead. It shouldn't take more than a couple of days to open the bank account, and only a few documents are needed, such as your passport, your Emirates ID or the registration form copy, as well as a salary certificate, which is a proof of income. You will find a lot of banks to choose from. So we do have international banks such as HSBC or Citibank, as well as the Emirati banks such as Emirates, NDB, Dubai Islamic Bank or Mashreq Bank, for example. They each have different options and offers. So do your research and find the one which suits you best. Then go to your bank's branch with your documents and an advisor will help you with all the formalities to open the bank account for you. And only a few days later, your bank card as well as your checkbook will be delivered to your office or your home. If you want to open a bank account for a commercial business, it's not that straightforward though. Under UAE regulations, you cannot do any business through your personal account. So here, the first step would be to set up a company first. I would recommend that you work closely with your business setup consultant to open your commercial account. Let's get into the next topic. You should decide where to stay upon your arrival before you get on the plane. So let me share with you what many of my clients have been doing, as this seems to be a very smooth and stress-free process. Most of them booked in advance a serviced hotel apartment or an Airbnb in a central location, such as downtown Dubai, Dubai Marina or Business Bay, to stay there for the first 4 weeks, with having everything they need near them. They use those weeks to get their bank affairs and visas, etc. sorted out. Also, they take time to explore the different communities and neighborhoods in Dubai, to find the one that is perfect for them. Just then, they would proceed with the viewings to rent their home on an annual basis and move in. And the process for applying for a lease property in Dubai is really quick. With a tenancy agreement signed, you can move in just under a week later. This procedure allows you to take your time and not be committed to any long-term lease agreements till you have explored the area yourself. One other thing to consider before moving elsewhere is how to get around in that place. So what about transportation in Dubai? Most expats own their own cars, which can be rented or bought at competitive prices. And gas is not as cheap as it was, but still fairly priced. Public transport is also really good. We do have plenty of low-cost options, such as the driverless metro, the tram, buses, water taxis, ferries, regular taxis, and the Ubers and the Careems. Generally speaking, if you're just getting around within the city and are living in a central area, then you won't necessarily need a car. Some residential communities, though, don't have access to the metro yet, so oftentimes it's more convenient and relaxed to have an own car. A question I get quite often asked is it safe to live in Dubai? Yes, it is. In fact, Dubai is one of the safest cities on earth, with just being named the safest place for solo women to travel. I've been living in the UAE now for a couple of years and I can truly say I have never felt insecure or even uncomfortable. But why is it so safe? You should know that Dubai has running more than 300,000 cameras at all times to catch crime and criminals. Majority of people in Dubai are expats like me who appreciate their job and their life in the UAE. So nobody wants to make mistakes that might lead to serious consequences, like losing the job or being deported. And that results in an incredible low crime rate. Personally, I'm not worried at all about those cameras, as I don't have anything to hide. I'm just appreciating the level of security. But I have mentioned it as some of you might feel uncomfortable with it. So when you're deciding whether or not to move, it's worth knowing. So what about the language? The good news is, you don't have to speak Arabic at all. Everybody here speaks English, and almost everything is available in both Arabic and English, including road signs and governmental documents. You will be able to get by easily. But when you speak Arabic, you might have more job opportunities. UAE employers are increasingly looking for bilingual applicants. When two applicants have the same skills, the one who is fluent in Arabic might have higher chances to get chosen. But again, Arabic is not a must. In fact, there are many expats who do not know the language at all. If you're moving to Dubai as a family, then the next topic is important for you. Add school registration to the list of things your family should prepare for when moving to Dubai. As public schools are Emirati only, you should consider the cost for private schooling and start planning right away. And you can choose from more than 200 private schools which follow all international systems like the US, Canada, UK, Europe or India. The admission requirements vary and more popular schools might even have waiting lists. In terms of cost for private schooling, you can expect a broad range, starting from $3,500 to $35,000 per year. Ideally, you can negotiate for your employer to pay for the fees, as many expats do. All in all, moving to Dubai would certainly be a big decision and one you want to think about carefully. But it can also be the best decision you will ever take for yourself.